Welcome to English Without Limits. This is the first lesson of Unit 2 in English Without Limits. In our first unit, lessons 1 to 30, we learned many things. Here in lesson 31, we begin with a new teacher, new students, and a new classroom. I hope you will enjoy this part of the series. Before we join the class in this next unit, let's review a little bit of what we learned in lessons 1 to 30. In lessons 1 to 5, we learned about greetings, how to introduce yourself. We learned about the calendar, weather, and classroom objects that you would find in your class. In lessons 6 to 10, we learned about fruit and vegetables. We learned about clothing. We learned about community helpers, people who live in our community, and we learned the alphabet song. Remember, we saw some children sing it for us. That was very good. In lessons 11 to 15, we learned about community buildings, places where your community helpers would work. We learned a little bit more about how to introduce yourself to someone and how to interview them, find out about their favorite foods and colors. Transportation is another thing we talked about, and we talked about pronouns, he, she, it, and the opposites. In the next 5 lessons, lessons 16 to 20, we learned about adjectives that describe people. They are happy or sad. We learned about belonging and owning. Who owns this? Whose is it? And we built sentences using the present progressive, I am cooking, and the present simple, I cook. We learned about subject and object and how to use the present simple to talk about our daily routine. Then in lessons 20 to 25, we talked about things that are true all the time using the present simple, like it always snows in the winter in some countries. We learned how to use this to say things that are true or false. Then we studied maps and giving directions. Go left, go right, go straight. Do you remember that? We learned about classroom directions, things the teacher might tell you to do. Stand up, sit down, be quiet, write your name. We talked about the future, things that have not happened yet. What will you do on the weekend? And we reviewed common illnesses and going to the doctor. In our last few lessons, we talked about houses, different rooms in the house, and furniture that you might find in these rooms. We practiced setting the table, and we learned the language that you need to know to go to the restaurant. And after that class, we took all our students out to a restaurant. That was fun. Well, in this next few lessons, we're going to begin with a new teacher, a new classroom, and new students. I hope you will enjoy this part of the series. In some of our earlier lessons, we learned how to talk about things that I'm doing right now. I am cooking, is what we might say. Then we learned how to talk about things that are true often. We might do them every day. I cook, or I eat breakfast. And we learned how to talk about things that have not happened yet, but they will happen in the future. I will go to the store this weekend. Well, today we're going to learn how to talk about things that have already happened. They are in the past. Maybe they happened 1 hour ago. Maybe they happened yesterday, or maybe they happened a long time ago, a year ago, or 10 years ago, but they are still in the past. So let's join the class as they begin to learn about this.
Good morning, class. I was just reading a newspaper article today, and I was going to read you what I read. The first article is about a bear. It says, yesterday, a bear jumped over a fence at the zoo. He walked for 20 kilometers and ended up on Main Street. People on the street were very scared. Finally, they caught him and returned him to the zoo. Oh, that would have been scary. And the second one says, a bank downtown was robbed at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. The alarm sounded and the police were called. The thief was handcuffed and jailed. Friday, the bank will reopen. Oh, so those are interesting articles. I guess that's what happened yesterday. Do you guys, what did you do yesterday? Could you tell me something you did yesterday?
Went to school.
You went to school? Who else? What else did you do yesterday?
We went to church.
You went to church?
Yeah.
Did anyone play at the park? No. Did anyone walk anywhere?
No.
No? You didn't walk to school? Okay. You walked to school? Okay.
Take a bus.
You took the bus. Okay. So what does it mean to be in the past? Does anybody know? What does the past mean? Yes, Arizani?
Past means that happened before.
It already happened. Yeah, good job. It already happened. Does anybody know anything about the words we use to indicate that it happened in the past? Did you hear in the article, did it sound like it was in the past? It was yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah? Did you hear any words that would tell you why?
Did you hear the teacher reading those newspaper stories? Let's go over them again and see if you can understand something about the past tense. Here are her stories. Yesterday, a bear jumped over the fence at the zoo. He walked for 20 kilometers and ended up on Main Street. The people on the street were very scared. Finally, they caught him and returned him to the zoo. That was the first story. Let's listen to the second story. A bank downtown was robbed at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. The alarm sounded and the police were called. The thief was handcuffed and jailed. Friday, the bank will reopen. When are these things happening? Are they happening right now? No, they're not. Are they happening in the future? Tomorrow? Next week? No, they're not. These things happened in the past. How do we know that? Well, one way we know is that there is a clue in some of the words in the story. When it says, yesterday a bear escaped, that tells us yesterday, in the past, is when these things happened. There is also a clue in the form of the words. Let's look at the words that were used, the verbs, in the story, and see if we can find a pattern. What words did we have? We had jumped, walked, ended, caught, returned, robbed, sounded, called, handcuffed, and jailed. Do you see a pattern in these words? If you do, you will understand something important about forming the simple past.
Regular verbs.
Well, I have an activity for us here. I have some. This is ED. This, when you add it to the end of a word, it'll mean that word is in the past. So do you remember the first bit of our story? It said a bear jumped over a fence and he got out of the zoo. So where do you think, if this is jump, where do you think this would go? Jump. On the beginning, on the end? The end. So right here, he jumped over the fence. So that means it's in the past, right? What if it's not on there? If I said a bear jumps, would that mean it's in the past?
No.
No. What about the other one? He walked for 20 kilometers. Right here? He walked for 20 kilometers. All right, so one of the things we know then is if we're using verbs in the past tense, these are all verbs, right? These are action words. If we want to make it in the past, we just add ed. So all of these words we can add ed to, except for this one. Do you remember hearing this word from the story? He was caught. The thief was caught who robbed the bank. Does this word sound like it's in the past? No? He was caught. What about if I said in the present, they catch? Does it seem like a different form of that word? Yeah? Okay, so maybe that's right. This one is an irregular verb, but we'll talk about that later. What I want you to notice is that most words use ed on the end, and that means that they're in the past. So I'll just leave that there.
Do you see how we make the simple past form with most verbs? With most of them, we just add ed to the end of the verb, and that makes it in the simple past. We take the present form of the verb, add ed, and it becomes the past form. So, for example, I could say, today I play. Yesterday I played. That's the simple past. Or today I jump. Yesterday I jumped. Or I could say, today I call. Yesterday I called. So do you see that this makes it the simple past? Now we're going to join the class as they do a worksheet together. I will put the text, the words of this, on the screen, and I will put a blank where the correct answer should go. I will give you the word in the present, and you must put the word in the blank in the past tense. If you have this worksheet, you can fill it in now. If not, you can do it with us on the screen. When you are asked to give the response, you can either write down the correct form or call it out as your teacher wants you to. All right? Are you ready? Let's begin.
All right, so after we completed our sheet, we're going to talk about the answers that we filled in. So the first one says, we blank my grandmother at the hospital yesterday and brought her flowers. Seblu, what did you put? Visited? Yeah, we visited my grandmother because she was sick. Okay. Number 2. Yesterday, Mary and I went to the park and we did what in the soccer field? Sar. We played. Yep. Good job. Number 3. The band concert blank at 6 o'clock p.m. Started at 6 p.m. Number 4, after dinner, he blanked up the table and washed the dishes. Lair?
He washed the dishes.
He washed the dishes, so he cleaned. Good job. Number 5, at ballet class, they blank a new song. They danced to a new song. Does everyone know what ballet is?
Yeah.
Ballet is dance. Number 6, the mailman blanked over the fence when he saw the dog running towards him. 2,
Jump.
he jumped. Yeah, good job, you guys. So all of those words had an ed on the end of them, so they all happened in the past, right? All of those actions. Good job.
Irregular verbs.
We've been learning about the pattern for regular verbs, most verbs, when you make them into the simple past. And most verbs work this way, but there are some verbs that don't follow this pattern. They are called irregular verbs. Irregular verbs. And they do not form the simple past in the same way. Unfortunately, there isn't a simple rule for these. You just have to learn each one on its own and memorize them. So let's join the class as they begin to learn a bit about these irregular verbs.
We're going to talk a little bit about weeks. We're going to talk about what happened this week and what happened last week. So, does anybody know what day it is today?
Saturday.
Saturday. You know how to find it on the calendar? Does everybody have a calendar in their house?
Yes.
How many days are in the week? 7 days. Right. I have a week listed out here. We've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And what 2 days did I leave out? Saturday and Sunday. Okay, so if today we're at the end of the week, the whole week that happened is in the past, right? This week that we just finished, it's in the past. And today we're in the present, but everything behind us, it's done with. So, I've got a story for us about a boy named Billy, and I have his week written out, everything that Billy had to do. So I'm going to tell you, okay? On Monday, this is what Billy normally does. On Monday, Billy eats pizza. So right here we have, what's this? Eat. He eats pizza. That's in the present, right? On Tuesday, Billy will give his brother a lesson in baseball. That's what he'll do on Tuesday. So this is our verb give. Is this in the present? Or is this in the past? Present. Good job. On Wednesday, Billy will begin reading a book for school. Do you guys have to read books for school?
Yes.
Yes. And on Thursday, Billy will swim at the local pool. So he maybe has swimming lessons on Thursdays. And on Friday, Billy will take his grandmother to the hospital. So that's everything he has to do this week. If Billy does this every week and then it's finished, how could we say that this is what happened last week? Does anyone have an idea? If I say on Monday, Billy eats pizza, if I'm talking about last week and it was in the past, and I talk about what Billy did, does anyone know how this word would change? He ate. He ate. Good job. Nate, do you want to come and put this one, the very first one, and stick it on top of that one and change that sentence? You can put it right on top of it. Good job. So Billy ate pizza, if we're talking about what he did last Monday. So on Tuesday, Billy gives his brother a lesson in baseball. If we're saying what he did last week and he already has done this, how do you think we could change this word? What do you think the form of it would be? He gave. Tamla, do you want to come and put the next one up for us? So now what would we say? Billy gave his brother a lesson in baseball. If on Wednesday Billy begins reading a book for school, does anyone know how we would say he already did that? If he started, he began, yes. Pashida, do you want to come and put the next one up? Thank you. So Billy began reading a book on Wednesday for school. On Thursday, he swims at the local pool. So if he already went there, he swam. Good job. Arzani, do you want to put the next one up? So Billy swam at the local pool. And for the last one, we have Billy takes his grandmother to the doctor's. Does anybody know what we would say if he already did that? He took. Good job, Simpl. You can put the last one up. So if I asked Sar to read me a sentence about what happened in the past on Wednesday, what could you tell me?